Okay, trying to get some good lighting here, but it's a bit of a dreary day here in London. So I just wanted to, just made myself some bullet notes here so that I am on track, basically. Introducing myself. Hello, I'm Cecilia, and I'm Swedish. I live in London on and off since 2005, and I thought I would make, oops, sorry, it's a bit dark. I thought I would make a little YouTube channel to hold myself accountable and help anyone out there who's struggling with consistency. And I don't know if this is going to be specifically about freelancing, but that's where I'm starting right now because that's where I am struggling. So I have called myself a freelancer probably since 2016. And I call myself that because I liked being like, oh, I'm a freelancer. But I mean, to be honest, I maybe made 300 to 500 pounds a month on freelancing. At a point, I made maybe 1,000. I thought, oh, I'm gonna. At that time, I was working as a barista after having quit a full-time job to travel South America. I came back to London and worked as a barista, and I discovered Upwork. And it was going well. Like I was getting like hourly contracts, and making regular income on a weekly basis. But then Upwork kind of changed their business model, and then you had to pay for, if I remember correctly, you then had to start paying for connects. Before, you didn't really have to do that. I might be wrong, but I remember thinking like, oh, why should I have to pay to apply to work to jobs? So I kind of like just let that fizzle. Anyway, I digress. So I've called myself a freelancer, probably since 2016, but I didn't actually start making good income until 2021, and on Fiverr, and that was because I had started up my own agency. Oops, someone just messaged me from Fiverr. So basically I'd started up my agency a year before with my boyfriend, because I found a YouTube video saying that, why don't you start an agency? Just get a bunch of contracts on Upwork or similar platforms and, offer a niche service and just like build your team, have like a social media manager, have someone who creates the graphics of the content that you for your clients, blah 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 blah. And that worked well for about 2-3 years. Also continuing after I started Fiverr, but I got really bored offering social media management, creating content for other companies. We worked with a restaurant. We worked with a food and beverage company. We worked with a activewear brand, and it was great. Like I was like, oh my god, this way of working works. But it also really just didn't burn me out. I don't think I have a tendency to burn out, but I got really bored with it. I got bored with having my head down on Instagram and just posting content for other people. It was just quite mundane after a while. In the beginning, we used to, for one of our, it was an app, one of our clients, we were posting like 5 times a day. And it was just got really dull, to be frank. So I thought, what do I like to do that I want to do more of? And then what came immediately to mind was voiceovers. I discovered voiceover, I had some voiceover work from 2014 onwards, maybe about 2-3 times a year here in London, being called to a studio and lending my Swedish voice, because it's niche, not everyone speaks Swedish here in London, and they had my sample on file and they liked it, and I've done that a few times a year, and it pays well. You go to the studio, maybe you work for 15 minutes recording something like a little for a commercial, and you get paid. For one, I got paid, I don't know, 1,500 for an hour session. Another, I got paid 500 for a 15-minute session. And I just thought, ooh, how can I get more of this? I like the cost effectiveness of the setup. And so I found Fiverr. And Fiverr, and on Fiverr, like you start low. You start with a basic $5 gig. And I mean, I think their name probably haunts them a little bit, or I mean, they're doing well, so maybe not. But in the beginning, I'd heard of Fiverr before, but I thought, oh, it's just $5 gigs. How can I live on that? But the more I researched it, obviously, everyone who's successful there, they usually recommend that you start low. You start with a $5 gig. For example, if you're on voiceover, maybe not if you're offering video and other things like that, but maybe a $5 graphic logo, $5 article, and things like that. But basically, I started with a voiceover and I started at $5. And in my first month, I made $80. My second month, I made $400. My third month, I made $500. I remember these numbers. I made 500 something. Fourth month, I made $1,500, and fifth month I made like $1,600. So I was seeing an increase, and I was like, oh my God, I can pay half my rent with this. Shared rent. And I was like, oh my God, this is working. Like I need to add more services. And I saw spokesperson videos, I saw product unboxing videos, and that eventually rolled into UGC and book editing and copywriting and things like that. And obviously it's evolved over the years. I'm in August this month, I will have been on there at the end of this month. I will have been on there for 4 years. And I mean, you should see what my gigs looked like at the start. They were rough if you compare it to now. Actually, my latest iteration of my gigs, I've asked someone to create the thumbnail for me, just to have that ding, that little shine on them, rather than me creating them in Canva, which I can do, but they're never going to be as nice. So yeah, but long story short, I keep going back to this, and it's kind of sad because it's 2 years ago, where in May or June, I had a 7K month. And that was obviously before their 20%. So whatever that is it was five something, I think, 5,000 something pounds, 5,000 something pounds. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of money, because the most I'd ever really made at a full-time job was just over like 2,000 pounds, which is not a lot. I mean, it is some, but when I made that, I was like, oh, geez, that's a lot of money. But 5,000, I was like, oh my God, why is anyone going to the office? Why wouldn't they just offer their services on Fiverr, and just get really good at it? But anyway, so yeah, that was like May, June, like 2 years ago. And since then, I've kind of gone like that, and I've had slow periods where I'm like, oh my God, well, I need to find other streams of income, because, but I always learned that you will have maybe a few weeks of a freak out, and then the orders come in again. But this is what this video is about. And this time it hasn't happened. So if I look back on my overview, and I'll share that with you as well, it's been quite like so, but stable, but just a little up and down every month, as it is with freelancing. But since February this year, I've basically only received promoted gigs. So orders where I've paid for an ad and someone's clicked on my ad and bought my product or my service, as well as repeat buyer orders. The one that just texted me earlier was a repeat buyer. And this is since February, so since my son was born late February. And I knew it was going to go down when he was born, even though with my daughter and my son, I was texting from like the labor ward. Like I even did a voiceover in the bed under a blanket, when there was no one else in the room, and I got a 5-star review and everything. And but when he was born, we also moved house, didn't have internet, didn't have heating. It was an awful time. And I was healing and everything. I had a newborn, and I had a toddler who had just started nursery and had a fever for like up in and out for 3 months, really. And so a lot was going on. And just there in the beginning, I had a buyer whose product didn't arrive, and didn't arrive for a month. And I had to keep extending the deadline, sending an extension request. And that's not supposed to really hurt your profile. But I spoke to my success manager, and she said, if you did that maybe 5-6 times, that probably did have an impact. Even though you're supposed to write a reason, and that reason's supposed to feed into the algorithm, and they're going to be like, oh, well, the product didn't arrive. We're not going to punish the seller. But I had to ask for an extension, 5-6 times, and so obviously I think that has partly to do with my slowdown. But yeah, basically that I had to ask for several extensions. Our internet was slow, and so it's now August, March, April, May, June, July. Almost 6 months of stagnating freelancing. And it really makes me sad. And I get angry about it. And the other day my boyfriend was like, Cecilia, stop saying that you're in Fiverr jail. Stop saying that it's so slow. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm quite an optimistic person. And I try and be what you put out there in the universe is what's going to come back to you. And I've just been saying for 6 months, I've been saying it's so slow, it's so slow, it's so slow, with no second thought being like, no, it's not. It's going to come. It's going to come back. I haven't been optimistic in that way. And I'm trying to be now. It's just nothing's happening. And I am still getting a few orders, but there was a time where I was looking at my average orders, and I was getting an average order of 9 orders a week. Now I'm lucky if I get 2. And it's really depressing, because that's my income. That is my income. And I am branching out. I am going back on Upwork again. But it's just, for me, it's just my success has been exponential on Fiverr, and now it's just gone quiet. And I don't want to talk about it negatively, but on Upwork, I find that it's harder to get voiceover jobs and UGC. But I think I'm just looking at it the wrong way. I think I just have to continue optimizing my profile, continue uploading good portfolio, and just really personalizing my cover letters. But I have a 5-month-old, and I have a toddler who's just in daycare for 2 days a week, because it's too expensive otherwise. So there's a lot to juggle. So what was my point? So long story short, this is the second time I say that. I've spoken to my success manager. I've written to support. That's my dog. I've written to support. I've spoken to ChatGPT. I've researched. I've looked at forums, and I'm trying to find the big red flag on my profile, why it's so slow. And I'm trying to find. And I'm I keep thinking someone's gonna be like, oh, this. Look. You did this. This is a warning on your account, or this is what you've done. Oh, this tag is messing it up, or this word, this keyword, or whatever. And no one's giving me that. But what everyone keeps saying, for example, support, if you go on the level, if you're familiar with Fiverr, they have a leveling system. And I have an 8. If you want top rated, it's a 9 or a 10. And I've just been on 8 forever. And it's easy to go down. It doesn't feel like it's as easy to go up to a 9. But I've steadily maintained an 8. And I have 11 gigs, I think. I had more, but I closed the ones that weren't serving me. And basically, the leveling system, they give you feedback saying order cancellations, or what do they call it? like disputes or whatever, something, conflict, order conflict, or effective communication, buyer satisfaction, all these points where it says like, you can improve more, or you're extremely satisfied or whatever. And on a lot of my gigs, it says that my effective communication needs work. And support keeps feeding this back to me, saying, well, this is standing out on your profile, saying your effective communication could be improved. And so I try to just reply really quickly, politely, follow up, do a progress message throughout the order, just keep like reaching out to them, even when the order is completed, say thank you and ask them to complete the order, leave a review, blah, 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 like all these things. And I think that's hurt me in the past, because sometimes I've delivered and been like, it wasn't the best delivery. I'm not going to ask for a review because it might be a bad one. And I think therein lies the rub. My consistency. And this is why I've also created an Instagram, just to keep myself on top of that. Hope I'm not spreading myself too thin. But yeah, so my consistency over the past 4 years has not been consistent. It's not been like that. It's been, in the beginning, that's just natural, but in the beginning, my microphone was like a podcast microphone, and I didn't know what I was doing with the software. I'm still not like amazing at it, but I know how to deliver like a good voiceover, and I know how to insulate, and I have an awesome microphone right now. But I've sometimes delivered voiceovers where, someone else is messaging me. I've sometimes delivered voiceovers where I was like, I did pronounce that wrong. Sorry, there's a car. I did pronounce that wrong, or that video wasn't that great, and so I have not with every order that I've delivered have I been happy with it. And even though I might have received a 5-star for it, Jesus, sorry, someone's playing a loud car outside. I might have received a 5-star review, like a public review, but they might have a really bad one behind the scenes. And my success manager did say that since November last year, I've had very few private feedbacks, and the ones that I have had have not been great. And which is, and I'm not saying that all my work that I've delivered is crap, but I think my consistency has been extremely up and down. Therefore, and I know I can do well. I know I do. Like, I have some work that I'm really proud of. But and it's no excuse, like having a busy life, because this is what I do. People are paying me for it. I need to deliver good quality. So I was going to make this a little bit of a series. Day 1 of, I don't want to use the word trying, day 1 of chasing the top rated seller badge. And that is by offering amazing deliverables, and period. That's it. And optimizing my profile and optimizing my life, because this is about changing my life, changing things that I want to change about my life. I want to have a higher income. I want to provide a better stability for my children, and just have like a healthier, cleaner life with not so much stress and disorganization and inconsistency. And I don't want to go back to a 9 to 5, because then I won't be with my children every day. The whole day. And I feel like when I if I get good at this, and I start getting regular orders, and maybe even building something outside of Fiverr, that then I will have more quality time with my children, rather than playing with them or talking to them, but actually thinking, where's one of my next orders going to come in? Because a lot of my brain power is taken up by that. Anyway, day 1 of chasing top-rated seller status on Fiverr. Welcome.